Hey, yo, what up? Welcome back. This is not a podcast. This is just my thoughts with Markman. Happy Saturday to y'all. Happy Saturday morning. Hope y'all had a blessed week. Thank y'all for supporting the channel, watching, liking, commenting, most of all, subscribing. A lot of y'all subscribed yesterday. A lot of y'all realized yesterday after I made my little speech, I was like, man, yeah, yo, I have been watching this channel for a while and I'm not subscribed. And a lot of y'all subscribe. So I appreciate y'all. So, if you've been watching this, if you enjoy like 4 or 5 videos and, consider subscribing, man. But, hope y'all have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day weekend to all the fathers out there too. I got myself a little something. Came today actually. Dog, I've been wanting these Air Max 95, the orange joints, since they first came out in 95 when I was a kid. Never could get them. I finally got them. Fire. I ain't gonna lie though. The shape, I thought the shape was because I got the neon ones from a couple years ago. It's a little sleeker. Let me know, any sneakerheads out here, what y'all think of these. I'm happy. I love them. But definitely I like, what was it, the 2020 retros? Better. It just felt sleeker. These feel bulky. These kind of look like a SB shoe to me a little bit. But I love them. I ain't going to lie. I'm happy. Look, I'm doing a whole lot of complaining, but I'm happy. But yeah, shout out to all the sneakerheads out there, man. Just one of my passions, music, comic books. Y'all know. I guess y'all learn more as this channel goes on. But I've been meaning to talk about this week. It's been a lot to talk about this week. And I'm going to catch up on a lot of stuff. Slick Rick album. I said I want to speak about that John Bellion album. There's some news I want to update you on. Sundays I'm going to do my Diddy trial updates. But I've been meaning to talk about this Kai Cenat Wale situation this week because I had a bit of a perspective of it. I'm going to give a rundown real quick. I'm going to give my opinion on it. And then I want to pose a question to y'all. Actually, I want to pose the question to y'all first. Because I really, this video is more about the question. Because we can't change anything. What happened with Kai Cenat and Wale happened. But there's more about the question. I want to know for y'all. This is how I want to learn from y'all. So hit me in the comments. How old were you when you first started listening to hip hop? When you first became like engulfed, like listening to hip hop, how old were you? What was the first song? What was that first artist? What was that first era that it was? How old were you when you first started listening to hip hop? Fire off in the chat. I'm gonna run down and I'm gonna tell you how this all connects to Kai Cenat and Wale. And I'm just here to spur the convo with it. And then I'll tell y'all a little bit about me. But so on Monday at the BET Awards, where Kai Cenat was live streaming, he bumped into Wale. They talked about the Nintendo Switch. Wale had a Nintendo Switch, the Switch 2. In his hand. I ain't get to play it yet. My son actually got it, man. He gotta let me get a turn on Mario Kart or something, but I ain't get to play it yet. But yeah, Wale bumped into Kai Cenat. Wale had the Switch 2 in his hand. Kai didn't recognize who Wale was until his chat told him. I'll play the video a little bit. Now, to me, this is just me being honest. I get not recognizing his face. That happens sometimes, especially when you meet a lot of people, what I'm saying? When you meet a lot of people, plus you're live streaming, you're focused on something else. I kind of get that. To me, it was weird when he didn't even know him off of name recognition. You know how sometimes like a person, but you don't really know them and you might not know what they look like. But, if somebody be like, oh, Wale, you'd be like, oh, I heard of that person. So when the guy off cam said Wale, and the response was, what's he do? I was surprised that not even the name Wale rung a bell. And when I was watching this, I was like, yo, is this like a skit? Maybe, you know what I'm saying? But I'm looking at it through my eyes, right? Through my perspective, through my bias. Again, it's not a crime. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not a crime. It's amazing how big of a controversy this got. It was just strange. So then Wale came up to him after, like during the awards when he was in his seat, and was just like, yo, man, you made me look crazy. Check out the video right here. Okay, my opinion on that, I don't think Wale should have done that. Like, he wasn't pressing him. That was the headline. The headline, everything is a press now. Whenever you go up to somebody and ask them a question, it's a press. Yo, so-and-so was pressing somebody. It definitely wasn't a press. He was just speaking to the dude, but you got to be aware, especially when dealing with the streamers and these young kids, is that they're on stream 24/7. Like some of them will stream a month at a time, right? They little marathon streams, or they big marathon streams actually. So he was streaming, and then the internet just takes a narrative and runs with it. So, you kind of just got to be aware of your surroundings, how things come off, how you can't think of all the possibilities. But once I seen that, I said, "Oh, this." I told the group chat. I said, "Man, I hate that this is happening. This is not gonna go well. This is gonna end up being a thing." But then the shit got out of hand. I was in the Twitter Spaces last week that I saw my man B Dot was running. My man, 3-letter man, shout out to 3. And the name of I was scrolling on Twitter, and the name of the thing is Wale a legend? And I guess the argument is that Kai should have known Wale because he's a legend in hip hop. And then some people started arguing that he isn't. And that's the part that got me upset, because I was like, and again, it's no disrespect to Kai, but why are we letting Kai, who started out as a video game streamer, right, having us question who I believe is one of the dopest rappers of this generation? Why are we now debating this? Why? Because Kai doesn't know him. That folks in the culture, and I told this to B Dot, I told this to 3, everybody who was in the room. Why are we now debating? Because he doesn't know who he is. Like, that's a Kai problem. Like, you know what I'm saying? To me, if Kai don't know who Wale is, he missing out. But why are we debating it? Why do we let what his knowledge base is then affect how we treat this thing? Like that was the part that disappointed. Like, why are we even debating this? Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's that was that, right? And I don't expect Kai to be the hip hop guy. Like we don't go to Kai to be like the all-knowing hip hop guy, and I don't know that he's ever presented himself to be. I think the rappers run to him because of the size of his audience, how he's able to get all these rappers on his stream. I will say he does benefit from being in hip hop and around hip hop, and that's a part of the appeal now. When they make these lists of the top media in hip hop and stuff like that, Kai doesn't say, "Hey, I'm just a streamer guy. I just know like video games and a little bit of hip hop." Like, he doesn't separate himself from it. He takes all the accolades that kind of comes with it. But I don't blame him necessarily for all of that, because again, the rappers run to him because of the audience. I say this, I said this in the Twitter Spaces. I wish they recorded it. It's not that rappers love journalism. And I don't think most of them never did, or people never did. Like, the reason why rappers went to The Source, to Double XL, to Vibe, to, is because they had a big audience. The Source sold a lot of magazines. So if I got into The Source, I could spread my message. If I got into Double XL, I could spread my message. If I got into Vibe, I could spread my message. If I got onto Rap City with The Basement with Tigger, I could spread my message wide to a wide audience. Now the audience, the numbers, I'm talking about sheer numbers, are with these streamers. So that's where the rappers are going. Whether the streamers fuck with rap or not, or they might fuck with it as a fan, but you're not going there and getting like a deep or insightful interview. That's not what it's for, but it's exposure to this wide audience. So, I think with Kai, we might be projecting. A lot of people might be projecting what we want him to be as opposed to who he actually is. So boom. Then Kai gets on stream, realizes he actually knows Wale's music, realizes he knows Lotus Flower Bomb. I'll play this. Boom. So he knows the record. Of course he does. It's a huge record. Lotus Flower, and Wale got a lot of huge huge record. Like On Chill, huge record. Like Wale, No Hands, Wale as a feature. You know what I'm saying? Huge record. Like Wale got a lot of these. So my only thing with Kai, and this is how I wrap it back around to the question I asked you in the beginning: how old were you when you first started listening to hip hop? My only thing with Kai is he's 23 years old now, 23, 24, 23 going on 24, something like that. He says, I was 9 years old. Almost as when Lotus Flower Bomb came out. Almost as that if that was an excuse as to why he didn't know it. And to me, the age doesn't matter. To me, a lot of people say, well, he's young. It doesn't matter. It's not that he's young. It's that he doesn't present himself to be all-knowing. And I think that's his truth, and that's fine. It's the age part I don't agree with when people say, well, He's only 23. I'm so what? So what? I first I got my first job as a journalist at 24 as a freelance journalist. You know what I'm saying? Um, but he says I was 9 years old when Lotus Flower Bomb came out, as if that was an excuse. But then it made me think maybe I'm different, and that's why I wanted to hear from you. How old were you when you first started listening to hip hop? What were you listening to when you were 9 years old? The first hip hop song I remember was Lottie Dottie by Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh, the Get Fresh crew. It was the wildest thing I ever heard. Like it was. I was aware of music at that time. My parents, my older brother and sister would play music all the time, but just the beatboxing and the rapping and the story. I remember I was 6 years old. I remember being in the first grade rapping that in the schoolyard, and the whole thing about Lottie Dottie was like. And shout out to Slick Rick. Slick Rick got this new album. Slick Rick was my first favorite rapper ever. But like coming to the schoolyard and you had to know the words. You had to be able to rap. That was just like one long verse. You know, it was almost like a competition among us. So the first song I remember in my consciousness, the first rap song that I remember in my consciousness was Lottie Dottie by Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh, the Get Fresh crew. And I was 6. When I was 9, I'm just looking. I looked up on Google, okay, what songs came out in 1989? That's when I was 9 years old. I mean, at 9 years old, I was fully dialed in. Fully. Me, Myself, and I. De La Soul dropped when I was 9 years old. I remember watching the video on Video Music Box. I remember when I first saw it, being in my man that I went to school with. You know, I live real far from the school that I went to. My man Eric Mendoza lived right down the block from the school that we went to school with. So sometimes after school, I would go to his crib. I remember watching Video Music Box and seeing Me, Myself, and I, and just like fucking with De La Soul because they had glasses. Like looking at Pasta News, like I've been wearing glasses since I was young, and I'm like, damn, bro. These dudes got, okay, rapping with glasses. Okay, that like it was just some cool shit. Of course, you had the Gazelles and all of that shit back then or before then, but it was like, no, these guys had glasses on because they couldn't see, type shit. You know what I'm saying? So I remember 9 years old, like listening to Daylight. I remember 9 years old, Biz Markie, Just a Friend, dropped at 9 years old. I remember when that dropped. Special Ed, I Got It Made came out when I was 9. Queen Latifah, Ladies First came out when I was 9. What's another one? Big Daddy Kane, Warm It Up Kane. I was 9 years old. 2 Live Crew, Me So Horny. I should not have been listening to that record. I should not have heard the 2 Live Crew record at 9 years old. But I did. Soul to Soul, Keep On Moving is on this list. That wasn't a rap song, but you know, I guess it was in the culture. But Google put it on the list. I was 9 when these came out. When I was dialed in at 9 years old, man. That's just me. I was listening to all this shit at 9. And so, you know, my take on the Kai Cenat Wale thing, I was like, oh, it would be a cool conversation with y'all. I ain't want to beat a dead horse, but it'd be a cool conversation with y'all. What was the first hip hop song? How old were you when you first started listening to hip hop? You know, what were you listening to at 9 years old? Let me know. Hit me in the comments. All right. To the next one. Peace.